So our actions rise either from the reactions, programs, etc., from the past, or from creations. That means the question, what is it we need to create? And that would be then the future. The nature of consciousness. It's only a little theme, but I want to share it with you so that you have heard the perspective where we come from when we look at consciousness. It's interesting that there is no plural in any language I'm aware of that has, or there's no plural for the word consciousness. There is no consciousnesses in the dictionaries. It's one consciousness. If we take that and see consciousness as, for example, something like the internet, so it doesn't belong to you, it doesn't belong to me. But we can log into, we can connect. Once we connect it, we can access the powers available of that context. The mind is yours, the subconscious is yours. Of course, nobody has the history you have. Maybe consciousness is not mine, yours, it's ours. Therefore, it can't be manipulated. Therefore, the wisdom is always pure and coming from the whole. The ego can't go there. You only can connect. And once you connect it, then you receive that wonderful holistic intelligence. And by the way, intelligence comes from the root meaning in Latin, intelligere, that means between the lines. Not, it's between the lines. Lines means thinking, material. It's between there. It all fits wonderfully together if you start studying the subject. So the nature of consciousness is not content, but it's a context. A context is like a reference frame. It's a milieu, an environment, a domain, a realm. And I want to share with you how powerful context is when it comes to comparison to content. See, take the example of blood. People, when face blood, some people, they get a little bit nauseous, woozy. Others, they literally faint. They look at blood and boom, here they go. Even others secretly want to lick it. There are different relationships to the blood and their experience about what they want to do with it. Context means it's a relationship to the blood that determines how you feel and what you want to do with it, not the blood. It's what your relationship to the blood is that determines your experience. People always think it's the blood. It's not true. It's a relationship to the blood. If somebody calls you stupid, it's a relationship you have to being called stupid, not somebody having you called stupid. Because if you would be 50 years ago a follower of Gurdjieff, he classified all human being development stages into stages of idiotism. So you would be one of the idiots in the 36 levels of idiots, according to Gurdjieff. So if somebody tells you an idiot, you would say, yeah, right, it's normal, I'm a human being, yeah, I'm an idiot, so continue what you want to say. But you would not go, how dare you? And would start fighting or go into defense. All your reactions, I say, are never a product of what out there has happened or is happening, but your relationship to that. Whatever you get upset about what your husband or your wife does, it's not because they did. It's your relationship to them having done. The relationship determines your experience to any reality, and the relationship is always a context. So here's a light bulb moment, a suggestion. The relationship you have to something creates your experience, not to something. If that really would kick in, the next emotion you have, the next experience you have, especially the negative ones, you would not start now fighting with your husband, fighting with your boss, pointing at the government and do all these things. you would examine, if you don't like the experience, you would examine what's my relationship to what's happening there, because the relationship, what I have to that is determining the experience, not that it's happening. Wise man many years ago told me, Mark, it's never what you did, it's always where you did it. Because the same thing if you do 3,000, 6,000 kilometers east or west, over there there's a different context. It might be an entirely different story. Same action, there you're hero, here you're zero. So it's never those obvious things as we conditioned, like right in front of you, yes, because you said, I'm upset. So I blame you for the experience I have. Under various reasons, A, it's not true, because it's your relationship that creates your experience, and B, it disempowers you, because you are pointing to a source outside that is more powerful than yourself. So, as consciousness is a context, it entirely is the operating system that is determining the relationship you have to anything in the world. If you are determining what your relationship is in context, in consciousness, you got the context from which to relate to the world, while your mind and your subconscious are still doing their own thing. So it's a whole new possibility for you to become authentic. Authentic means you are the author of the relationship you want to have to the world. So you don't need to change your mind. You don't need to change your ego. You don't need to disempower and work on your subconscious programs. To go quickly through it, the powers of consciousness, as we said, just summarize before we conclude. It's the power to transform the experience of reality. As I just said, alcohol does the same thing. You go to a bar, you don't like the people on the bar, you have a couple of beers with them and suddenly you like them. The people didn't change, right? The alcohol changed the context from which you experience the people. So the same power has consciousness, only no side effects. The power to create, I talked about that. The power to manage the law of attraction, we talked about that as well. Then the power to get the brain work holistically, that was touched on. And the power to shift yourself into ownership. That means simply from a position of, for example, appetite having you to you having appetite. Big difference. Nothing wrong with appetite. People are trying, It's always where are you? Either anger has you or you have anger. Now, people go to anger management and anger courses and all the rest of it. We say, no, don't do that. Anger is a great energy. It's just a matter of, is the anger having you or are you having the anger? The whole work is based on transferring form, transformation, to get you from a position of victim to a position of victor, where you own the stuff. See, if you own your desire, if you have your desire, then you as consciousness make your decisions coming from wisdom, and inside of that, there are times where you can live your desire, no problem. But if desire has you, then this is always more important than the whole. And then you get in trouble and you get in problems. So, I said just 1 or 2 minutes on coaching, so that the brand consciousness coaching makes sense to you. Consciousness plus coaching, holistic human empowerment. And what we're saying here is that in coaching, it is for me the art to interact with any other human being, anybody, strangers, parents, children, spouse, boss, doesn't matter, in such a way that both of us are left empowered, a little bit more enlightened, uplifted. See, if I engage with you and I make you powerful and I feel then I sacrificed or I'm down, that's not win-win. In coaching, it's a dignifying process for yourself and for the other person. I believe that as human beings, we need to start getting that established. If we can't have powerful relationships to each other, everybody, no exception, how can we possibly create a holistic intelligence that makes us save the planet? As long as we can't do it in the little one, how can we expect it to do in the big one? So coaching for me represents principles that I need to learn, because it doesn't come by being born. When I started to study coaching, it was like waking up 100 more times in my life to things that made so much sense, but I haven't seen them before. As parents, we tell our children what to do, what not to do, with our heart, etc., etc. But do they always then learn from it? No. Maybe they learn a little bit here, then puberty comes and they kick it all upside down and show us, who is the real one in charge. Telling people what to do, no matter how right you are, is not really a powerful interaction instrument. Coaching shows you a whole different way to ask questions that make the other person see what you want to tell them. Because then they see it with their own eyes, and this way the ego is not resisting, there's no guard, it's a beautiful energy creation. You are empowered, they are empowered, but problem is you can't talk much anymore when you are a coach. So you need to say goodbye to you being always the most important one who is talking all the time how other people should be and how everybody should be and so on and so forth. So forth. That time will go. You will become a listener. And you will look out for what is the right question here to ask for the maximum empowerment of the other. It's beautiful. And it works. Consciousness without coaching, so without the ability to relate to another in a powerful way. It's like you having only one leg. Coaching without consciousness is also very limited. The two make you run, consciousness and coaching. About 100 years ago, that was a time where survival was the name of the game. First, Second World War, oil, heavy industry, survival, a very dense time back then. What's the name the historians gave that age? Anybody know that? What's the name the historians call that age?
The Industrial Revolution.
Industrial age, exactly. That was the Industrial Age. Then 50 years later, after the Second World War, we moved into a new age that was called the, what is the latest age where we are at the end of? Industrial age, and then it was a information age. The information age is that what's called. That was a time, invention of computers. With the computers, then we got the internet. With the internet, we got the search engines. And the information age means nothing but at any place in the world where I am, I can access the totality of knowledge humankind has. If you go to Nepal, in the coffee shops in Kathmandu there's a computer and you access the internet there. Yeah, it's still 54 KB, but never mind. Google, you put in the right keyword and you get knowledge. So we can't possibly go any further. Maybe a microchip here and there. That age is done. The new age, and you can see it all over the place, is knocking on the door. It's forcing its way in. Maybe it will be called the consciousness age, or wisdom age, or intelligence age. But it will be that what everybody is pointing to, but nobody is really able to say it in clear words at the moment because we are still in the transition time. It will be consciousness. It will be an age where we suddenly need to educate ourselves in that last bit, what was missing all the time and responsible for us not really having made a psychological evolution. So we stand for the consciousness age and a world that works for everybody. And that world, that starts with you, me, everyone. And that's my wish for each human being, to get that and to start their revolution in consciousness, in themselves, and then from there, share it with anybody they meet. With that, we create a chain reaction of waking up, and if we reach the critical mass, we will have then global awareness on a new level. And that, I think, is what's needed. So thank you for your attention, having been with me, very strong listeners.